Hey, Ryan, thanks for joining us today as we're getting started. Give us a little background on yourself.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Brian. Honored to be here. Really appreciate you reaching out and putting me on the podcast. I guess I have to start out with saying that I've been married to my wife for 16 years, best friend, high school sweethearts. We've got two kids, 12 and 14. Really fell in love with her, started building a relationship with her, built our faith together, which gave me the confidence to go and pursue all the things that I've done over the past, 15, 20 years. So started out at University of Detroit, got my mechanical engineering degree. So believe it or not, engineer by degree, and then moved into automotive, which was awesome as a young professional, learning the technical space and how to navigate really tough leadership, I would say. But then springboarding into sales, and then eventually moving into sales leadership. I led a sales team for a division in North America for a Fortune 200 for 3 years, and then through a long-winded 300 videos later, LinkedIn, Ryan from Detroit brand, landed myself in technology, and that's where I've been at for the past 3 years, and it's just been a dream for me.
And why sales?
Oh man, I love people. Right, the common theme for me throughout, even when it was engineering, but wanting to really get to sales, is problem solving, solution selling, getting into a partnership with a company that's sitting across the table, the camera, the phone, and being able to align our values and really go at it together to solve problems for people and ultimately big companies, which is thrilling.
And talk to us about the challenges of going from, kind of engineering, which is very structured, very known. People are just the opposite.
For sure. What's interesting is, and I look up and thank God, but there's been a few times in my life I've made a decision that seemed to be a little ahead of my time, right? There's a little bit of wisdom in those decisions, and I can pick them out a few times in my life. And one of them was going into engineering school. I really didn't want to be an engineer, believe it or not. I wanted to be a better business leader. I wanted to be an entrepreneur, had a wedding photography business in high school into college, paid my way through college, had lots of different jobs and things and businesses, small businesses. So being an engineer gave me the technical foundation that I felt, if I'm in the running versus maybe someone that went to business school, not that I would be better than them, but I'd have a different type of experience and skill set, that if I could still work with executives and leaders and really win people over based on authenticity, then that foundation would maybe springboard me or give me a leg up. So when I was in engineering, I wanted to be customer facing. I wanted to be in front of people. I wanted to be in the room with the leadership making the decisions, and I wanted to be a part of that. So I always even treated engineering like sales, and then like mentorship as well. So it was a weird transition, but it actually worked out great.
Sounds like you're probably an extrovert by nature. Is that?
I would say so. If anyone that knows me, friends and family, would say absolutely. But like I said, man of faith. So I spend a lot of quiet time, right? A lot of when I'm running, working out, I'm music in my ears. It's me. It's a kind of an audience of one, if you will. So I'm an extrovert, I think, but believe it or not, this has been a little bit learned for me as I've kind of gotten in front of the camera instead of behind it over the past few years.
And you're currently in some pretty high technology sales that have nothing to do with mechanical engineering.
Yeah.
How'd you learn all that stuff?
I think people don't give themselves enough credit. I think we have a ton of value intrinsically, and I think people sort of make decisions out of fear versus stepping out a lot. So I think for me, like I said, my wife's a big part of the foundation, my faith, but it's been a journey of adventure and entrepreneurship for me. Every opportunity, every new job, I feel like you've got something to give that no one else has, that you're uniquely suited to do that. So for me, it's a place of confidence. I know what I know, but I know what I don't know. And the things I don't know, I'm going to try to learn quickly. And education's one way, but I think people need to give themselves more credit and get into those jobs and get the experience, get their hands dirty, which is the way I did it. I'll also say what was interesting is, after doing a ton of LinkedIn video, which I love, and I love your videos, by the way, which is, I think we have a common theme there. I attracted some folks to come to me and sort of offer some opportunities, which is what I was hoping for in the long run as my long-term strategy. But one of the gentlemen that I spoke with, I was trying to help another friend out with a startup, just pro bono. And 20 minutes on the phone, because he knew my brand, he said, "Look, I'm from the Midwest. He was based out of San Francisco." he said, "You are uniquely suited to do this role. We need people like you to sell in the Midwest." And I said, like, I've waited for technology to sort of converge with the Detroit scene my whole life because this is home for me, and it happened. And we could talk about the successes, but it's been such a blessing because I've had a lot of good momentum and good team around me to help build those things out, and it's just continued to push us forward.
And how did you learn about like the large complex sale? Because from the outside looking in, people look at sales as all the same. It's personality, it's likability, it's gift of gab. But in the large enterprise sale, there's a whole lot more than that.
Oh, for sure. Again, I think it's underrated. If I'm being honest, I'm very transparent on that and make myself vulnerable. But I think people who have been practitioners in the business, right? Like I had a team of four, right? And I had responsibility for the business in North America where I had to produce a plan, a sales plan for 5 year plan, long range, and annual. So in order to do that, it's not spreadsheets. It's not, it's people. You have to get in, you have to understand where you're going. And I think that carries over very well into technology. And I think a lot of technology leaders need to think about that. I think there's practitioners out there. For instance, when I get on a call with a supply chain leader or even a finance leader, even though my background's not finance, I worked with and alongside controllers of businesses that had, were responsible for 500 million. And I'm a 25 to 50 million entity of that. So I think that foundation and that skill set carries over to allow you to put yourself in their shoes. So our conversations start off with sort of like what you and I talked about, just getting to know each other, but also, hey, I kind of know where been in your shoes. I know where you're going. Here's some problems I've seen, and here's some customers that I've shared experiences with. Is this your experience based on where you sit? So you do your homework. But if you can get that relationship, built on trust, authenticity going, they'll open up to you because they trust you. And then you can build a partnership versus trying to be transactional, which is the name of the game for me.
Yeah. And what do you see most people doing wrong today?
Whew. I think it's all well intended. I think it comes down to confidence. I think people get into technology, which was an eye opener for me. Like when I first started, really in the tech space several years ago, I was like a kid in the candy store, right? And then the onboarding programs were amazing because the attention to detail was so great compared to what I had been used to, which is here's your laptop, here's your account, go
Yeah.
talk to Ford or Chrysler or GM and figure it out. Like they're very well structured, but I think where people are missing out is they take that playbook and they take it, they want to regurgitate it versus making it their own. So I think people really need to find out how to get creative in that space and make it their own, make it coming from their point of view and their voice to the customer versus sort of a corporate structured message, if you will.
Yeah. And what do you see as kind of your strongest suit in sales?
Well, I would say this is probably situational awareness, make it based on feedback, right? I like a lot of feedback and data points, but I think it's building quick trust with customers. You have to follow through, right? So when I get on calls with customers, and this is feedback I've heard from customers, this is feedback people have left on LinkedIn. This is my whole, the circle of feedback that comes. I think it has to do with I'm going to build authenticity. I'm going to tell you what we can do for you together, big picture vision, break it down and say, here's how we're going to get there if you'll allow me. And then, oh, by the way, don't just take my word for it. Let me prove it to you. And I think those results in the end and trying to squeeze that into a little bit shorter cycle than what the typical enterprise play is, we can get there faster. I can bring the best resources. I think they trust me. And then typically there's a really good relationship that builds out over time that ends up spanning across different executive teams and that type of thing because they see the results and they come back to me and say, hey, you're doing a good job for our company. And I always lift those other people up on the other side to say, hey, these are the heroes. Like we're just providing the resource to get there.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people rely too much on the logic of it. It makes business sense. It's the future, but that's good and helpful. But is that enough to get them to take action to change?
Yeah. Now I'm with you. I think it's a little bit of a bold statement, but I don't really think people are buying software. I think they're buying from people they trust, and I know there's big debates on that, right? Depending on where you sit, whether you're mid market, commercial, or enterprise. But reality is, I've got good customer champions who have become good friends at the executive level where I remember a conversation with one individual who was the CIO of a company, and we had lots of conversations, and there was a true relationship being built. And he said, I think it is probably time to bring some executives in to have some higher level conversations. You've been doing a great job supporting us, but there's some things we're doing globally that you've been supporting because I was a global lead there. He's like, but it's probably good for you and me to do that. And I said, well, I'm going to California for an event. There's a couple people that I think would be good, but let me go interview them based on what I see in the company, what we've built here, and let me make sure we pick the right people. And I think those relationships go a long way versus just grabbing the CEO or grabbing the CRO and pulling them in. It's truly advocating for the customer within the walls of your company.
Yeah, because I think, we use the word like relationship and people think, oh, it's somebody I want to go to a ball game with. No, it's somebody that you've built up trust with, trust being showing more interest in them than in yourself.
Absolutely.
And
I agree.
yeah, and everyone thinks it's just logic. Well, almost everything makes logical sense to buy, but
For
they're not
sure.
going to buy it.
Or you wouldn't be a product that's had success, right?
Right. And you're selling into kind of brick and mortar, old fashioned industrial space. I assume it's Detroit, right?
Yeah, it's both. I mean, I work for Alteryx, which is our what we're trying to help democratize analytics for lots of leaders, right? Because there's a ton of data. We could get into that if you'd like, but what it comes down to is we do work cross regionally. So I have a lot of older, big legacy companies, but I've also got some smaller companies as well that are more forward facing in the technology space. So we span across it. Some of our biggest customers would be, maybe some of the software we're using right now, or some of the things we use every day, right? So it goes across all different lines of business, all different verticals for sure.
And who's typically the entry point? Who has the problem that you solve?
The big debate.
You don't
Our
know?
leadership. No, the typical executives. And again, we've got awesome leadership where I'm at, which is why I'm here, period, to carry the legacy of what's been built before me. Um, but I would say in general, as a generalized statement, executives want, big strategic salespeople to sell to executives. So that's, we always are going after that, building the relationships across through LinkedIn, through referrals, things like that. But I would say that's where we're different. We can really help the analyst, right? Whether it's a supply chain analyst, a finance, tax, even HR, sales. We can go across the enterprise. We're a true platform that does a lot of great things, that gives people their time back, but also helps enhance the data. So I'll talk to anyone at the company that's willing to listen. Built lots of relationships where we've taken an analyst who sees a vision, doesn't know how to get there. We've
Yeah.
been there before. Hey, we'll give you the resources. We'll support you. Let's talk about your use cases. Let's talk about your outcomes that you're trying to get to. What success look like for you? And then an analyst would go and sell to their manager, which would sell to their director. So we've entered there. I've also got great relationships at a director, VP level, so we can go in there as well, and then it becomes more of an initiative down. So we can go anywhere with our solution, which is really thrilling.
But I got to imagine that they're already using something, and there's a million other ways to skin this cat.
Sure, it's true. It's true. I mean, analytics is a pretty crowded space. Once we get in and have the conversation, and are able to show it, not just a typical demo, but actually give an overview, and they can feel it and smell it and see it. They realize it's different, right? They realize it can cover a lot of ground for them and things that they weren't really seeing before, and they had to piece together. So it is unique in that way, I would say, for sure. And our customers never have seen this, to be honest, anywhere, whether it was automotive, right, even entrepreneurship and into tech sales. But our customers truly will open up on a first call sometimes. If there is a customer, I'm obviously working strategic, so mostly customers, but there are customers that will just gush over our product and over our platform and our community that's been built. So that makes it a little easier to have the conversation for sure.
And how did you become fluent in this? Because you're talking to analysts. You've never been an analyst, probably. I've never
Sure.
been an analyst.
Yep.
You got to learn their language, what they care about, and be able to answer their questions and differentiate. Because I'm sure as soon as you say a keyword, data warehouse, data analytics, triggers a bunch of images in their heads of competitors, alternatives, and they're
Yeah,
getting the job done somehow, some way today.
sure. Now, a big conversation piece is time. Even though they're doing it, even though there's legacy systems there, what often happens is that they're forced to use those systems and they're forced to put their data into a box that was already built.
Yeah.
And what we say is, hey, we'll help you design the box, the sphere, whatever shape you want, whatever you want to put wheels on it, you want to put rockets on the back, we'll help you build it. But oh, don't take our word for it. We'll get into this with you, right? So that's kind of how we carry it through, because we'll bring technical resources on and we'll build with them for a few hours or for a week, and they can trial it, and then they really get a sense of what it can do for them. But the initial conversation is, again, it's building quick trust, being authentic, and saying, hey, I haven't worked in your position, but I've worked adjacent to your position. And I was working in this leadership role where the controller I worked with had analysts on the team. Here's some of the things that we saw that were problematic, that really caused people like you a lot of pain. Is this the case for you? Tell me about it. And typically, when you can get deep with them and identify some of those areas, they open up, right? Because they want to talk about the pain. Like, people don't like to really bottle it up. It's like, well, I'm glad you asked. Like, let me tell you what I'm going through. And then we just align the outcome or the solution, whether it's a quick win, not from a transactional standpoint, but a quick win from a value perspective. We align that quickly, help them sort of get to the next level, and then also continue to climb that leadership level. And then again, we can supplement it with business cases, value engineering team, things like that, to really help them stand out from an executive standpoint.
And what skill or ability do you wish you had either more of or the best of?
Yeah, I think I've had opportunities within companies, especially in leadership prior to tech, where the company would offer me. I had one instance when I was leading a company. As soon as I got in, they're like, "We'll pay for your executive MBA. Go get it." Right? Like, go.
Yeah.
But it was a change management situation where I needed to really dig into the business, and I was super thankful and very very a lot of gratitude for that open door. I said, I need a little time. We got some things to fix. So I don't know that I would actually go back to college to get something like that, but having a foundational business and finance um, background or supplement or minor maybe in college while I'm building up my quiver, if you will, that could be beneficial, right? So everything now is self learned when you start talking about finance and tax situations, but that's something I think you could build muscle memory, and that would help out any salesperson for sure.
Okay.
The other thing I would say is I would have started networking earlier. I went back in to my old university and became an adjunct professor to help young engineers and co-ops. I think we had 60 or 70 kids, like, start to build out their resume, build out their LinkedIn. Like, this was the whole conversation that I got asked by one of my old professors who became a dean. And this was about 5, 6 years ago. And I said, first things first, go build a LinkedIn profile. No, you don't think it's cool because it's not Snapchat or TikTok.
Right.
Go build it, and then connect with me. And I co-instructed with another buddy of mine who sells here as well, who we built automotive together, then moved to tech together, who's often in my videos also, by the way. I call him hashtag DJEJ, and he hates it. So I had to throw it out there. But I told him, I said, we're hiring managers. At the time, we both worked for different companies and we led teams. You connect with us and you're our students and you're passionate, we will do everything we can to help you. And I wish I would have known that earlier, and I could have built that network out earlier. Because I think it was around 2017 when I was in leadership that I was like, if I ever want to get into tech or get outside of this sphere of influence, I need to build a network. I need to build those relationships that sales teaches you to build. And that's how I jumped into LinkedIn video. The Ryan from Detroit brand was sort of shown to the world, and that's kind of how I built that network. So I would do that much sooner, and I would advise anybody, even if they don't get it, like, jump in and start building the network early, early, early.
And this is because networking is essentially prospecting without a transaction, right?
Love it. I love it. Well
It's
put.
just becoming known, liked, and trusted at scale without having, you know, the ask
Yeah.
established yet.
The pressure of the ask too.
Right.
What I've noticed is, and this is the truth. You could vet this out, but anyone in LinkedIn that reaches out that wants help, right? I know it's busy. We're busy, working with executives, working with leaders every day. we're busy. I have family. I coach, right? Do a lot of things, lots of things outside of work as well. But anyone that reached out for me on LinkedIn for the past 5, 6 years since I've been active, it's like I'll help you. Like let's find a way to help you. If it's information, if it's a little bit of guidance, if it's putting you, in the right place with the right person to have the conversation, let's talk through what success looks like for you. And truly, there's zero in it for me other than I get to sort of like shut down the laptop, walk away, look up and say, thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to have this. And then like, I hope they get something out of it. And if I see, you start to see all over LinkedIn and all over the companies you're in, because I talk to everybody, you start to see things start to pop off and people find success. And there's such a joy in that. And in reality, it will eventually, that goodwill will pay off. That's not why you do it, but you're 100% right. Like people miss that because they're so focused on their number, their quota, their comp check, like whatever. And I don't think about that stuff. It's like do the right things for customers, for people. It will all pay off in the end. And I think people can feel it when you're even when you're trying to be authentic, but then all of a sudden there's like this weird little ask in there, and they're like, "We knew it was coming," right? There's never a gotcha moment with me, with customers, or with people. It just doesn't happen.
Well, that's it, because a lot of us will take a week and go to a trade show where our company doesn't have a booth, and we'll spend breakfast, lunch, and dinner trying to network, but we won't spend 5 minutes a day online in a 24/7, 365 trade show called LinkedIn and the internet.
It's true.
And
You're
everybody's like,
missing.
well, I'll go on there when I need a job.
Yeah,
Well, it's too
doesn't work
late.
like that. It's too late. It's absolutely too late. And there's 50 people that want that job, right? And even if you have some influence in and not in the decision making yet, although I've been a hiring manager and will be, I'm sure, in the future, but it comes down to, are you the right fit? Do they know you? Are you a known entity? Right? Like we've talked about this before. One of my buddies, and then another guy on LinkedIn who's been pretty big and bought, built and sold a company. We almost built something else together a while ago. Um, he literally got on LinkedIn when he was in a position making very little money out of college and said, "I don't want this life," and just never asked anyone anything. Just literally reached out, built connections with hiring managers in the field that he wanted to be in, or recruiters. And eventually someone came to him based on the way he wrote on LinkedIn, again, never making an ask. And eventually it was $1 million investment to go and buy some sandwich shops that they wanted him to have equity in and run based on his leadership style. And that was simply because he was his authentic self and took the time to go and make himself known to other people and add value to their posts and their comments and things like that. And I can't stress it enough. People still aren't doing it, and it blows me away.
Well,
The lack of, attention on that.
the thing is, it's always worked. The medium has changed.
Yes, good point.
Because one of the things I did as a rep is I would always call headhunters back
Oh,
unless they
sure,
were clowns,
sure.
right? And I see if I could help them. I go, I'm not in market right now. What are you looking for?
Bingo.
And I go, well, I'm not sure if they're open. Give them a call. Tell them I gave you my name.
It's awesome, man.
And all
More of
of a
that.
sudden, we became friendly. I hate to
Yeah,
use the words friends
I
because we
get it.
never socialized or anything,
Yeah,
but we could talk and share experiences and industry updates.
yeah.
Just a couple of weeks ago, my old
Mm.
boss, I hadn't talked to him in 20 years. He goes, "You're well connected. Uh, I'm looking for another job." I go, "Well, I have no idea what you do now." Right? He told me, and I go, "Okay, let me put some feelers out." In 3 days, I get him connected to this Slack group, and there's three people looking for somebody like him. I don't know if there's a good match or not, but
Awesome.
his network's now expanded. It took 5 minutes of my time.
It's going back. You were asking earlier about foundational principle. What would you do different? What do you think you do well? We were in an automotive setting selling, for all intents and purposes, 50-cent car parts, right? Like, and I'm no shame in my game on that. But we took a 50-cent car part company and division in North America, me and a colleague and a bunch of support team. Like there was more than two of us, but there were really only at one point two salespeople for 50 million in business. And we built it from 20 to 50 over 6 or 7 years with a lot of support. Like I mentioned, we're a team, but we became advisors in reality to all 30 to 40 companies we supported and sold to, including some of the big OEMs in automotive, the big names.
Yeah.
And the reason was exactly your point. We would help them. So anytime they would hire, they'd call us off record. We grab a coffee and they're like, I got these three people. Like, what's the scoop? And we'd be careful, right? Like we would never do anything dishonorable, but they were looking for trusted advisorship. And I would say, kind of back to what you just did, it's exactly where my heart is and where it's been from day one that I've carried through to this gig, right? To what we're doing here. I think this is a place I want to build a career at for sure, based on lots of amazing things we're doing. But yeah, it's the same motion and it gets
And
the same outcome.
right, because people think today, make 50 dials and 100 emails is the way to prospect. Insanely ineffective.
Yeah,
You could spend one-tenth the time online connecting up through the people you already know, asking them, who do they know that is in this space?
absolutely. I've
And
had
boom.
executives tell me that.
And what do
Don't
they
cold
do?
call me. Yeah, don't cold call me. If you really like, and again, executive friends, I'm like, hey, I've done some things for the companies where I would just bring an executive leader in who I was close with and had done a lot for and with. Say, can you just spend 30 minutes with some of these AEs, these account execs? Just open mic, let them ask questions. We don't get to do this a lot. We're always in a sales cycle. Like this will be no pressure. And they've been really helpful in that. And one of the comments that one of the gentlemen made was he was in the supply chain leader. He said, spend the time to find out who knows me. Don't reach out cold to me because I'm like, who are you? Find someone who knows me and ask them to introduce you. It's that. And if they do that, I'll talk to you, right? If you don't do that, I won't, right? Unless you catch me on the phone somehow and then I get upset, right? So again, one small like side step or like little additional supplemental info. And I think people miss it because they're so like go, 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 go. They never give themselves time to think and really bake these ideas out. And I feel like there is an opportunity for all of us to be creative within these roles and not be operational only. I think, operational excellence is important. You have to have a cadence, you have to have a structure, especially when you're leading a team. But man, the creativity is where people flourish. And back in automotive, and I'll do it the same here. Everyone goes to lunch. You take some customers to lunch, and it wasn't like a shtick, but we get done with lunch, and I'd say, "You guys want to go grab ice cream?" And it's and again, at the time I was a little younger, had some obvious guys and gals that were older, and they'd look at me like, are you serious? I'm like, yeah, I want ice cream. You want to go
Ice
get some
cream.
ice cream? And like, it's an
We
extra
all
10
scream for
minutes,
ice
right?
cream.
Yeah, but like, I'm like, yeah, I want some ice cream. And then we'd go get ice cream and they'd be like kids, man. It's like who doesn't want to have fun and not think about the pressures of work and life. And I just think there's so many of those small opportunities that many of us miss out on because we're running too fast or we're too
Well,
tunnel vision.
yeah, we put our sales voice on and we read the script and the value prop and the sales ready messaging, and it sounds
Yeah,
like a commercial because it
totally.
is a commercial.
Exactly. Exactly. Same thing with slides, I think is another whole comment, but
Yeah, and when
we've
people
sold
talk
some big
about
deals without them.
relationship, it's getting to that point where you can get ice cream together, where you're humans. You sell something, you solve problems. I've got problems. Is there a union between them?
Sure.
Great. If there isn't, let's stay in touch. There might be someday.
Yeah. And I would add, even if you're an AE, if you're an individual contributor, I would add that it's as important to do that, if not more, internally, right? Even if you don't have direct responsibility to lead teams, you can't just say, oh, I can't talk to you. I'm focused on my job. Like you have to build up the team around you, the culture around you. You have to continue to add to that if you really want to build the rocket ship that everyone says they want to build. And I think it's so important. And I take any phone call that people want to throw at me. And I've had people like, oh, it's Q4. I'm like, I get it. I got deals to close, no doubt. But I got 20 minutes for you. Like, let's talk. What's on your mind? It goes a long way.
Cool. Hey, Ryan, appreciate your time today. Where can people go to connect and follow you?
Best place is linkedin.com/Ryan from Detroit. You can search Ryan from Detroit anywhere on LinkedIn. You'll find the hashtag, you'll find the video posts, you'll find the leadership, discussions and sales tips. So probably best place, DM me there, hit me up. We can talk, have some conversations.